Hi everyone, Concy here from atop Serenity Hill. I'm super excited to be the Mixed Media Menagerie's guest artist for August. I'm joining Laura, Nicole, and Erin, where we use 3 prompts that we interpret together. As my community knows, I am a huge fan of prompts. So I was really excited that I was invited to join them for August. So our 3 prompts are use a fluorescent, a stapler, and graffiti, which is one of my favorite things. So that you guys don't know about, but I'll share that. So let's get started. I wanted to show you when I saw the prompts, the first thing I thought of was something I had done a long time ago. In a former art world, I was a face and body painter, and this was a get-together we did with a bunch of artists for a photographer, where we were asked to combine 2 artists together in a body paint. And so this is my take on combining Monet and his water lilies with the artists of, like, a graffiti artist. I didn't have anyone specific in mind, but I just like the idea of adding the wording in, the Monet was done in graffiti, and my name on the back of her shoulder was written in graffiti, and then she had like a tattoo on her arm. So that was the idea behind it. So it got me thinking about maybe using some of that as inspiration for today, and we'll see where it goes. But I wanted to show you, when you're thinking about prompts and supplies for yourself, where could you go with them? So I don't have any fluorescent, like, acrylic paint, but I do have these sprays that I got. They're for fabric, actually, but I love the colors. They do not spray any longer, but there's still paint in them. So we'll use them in, drippy ways if I decide to use them. Then I found some paper that had a fluorescent feel to it. So I have that for fluorescent. Of course, stapler. I got a stapler. Not sure how I'm going to use it yet, but I do have one handy. And then as far as the graffiti part, I can hand draw graffiti letters, but that's not always the easiest thing for people. So I went on into both Microsoft Word and Photoshop to see if they have it. And they actually have a font called Graffiti, which is this one right here, this one. Okay, I printed out really big. And then these were just different versions of fonts that felt graffiti-ish. I think one of them is actually called Thug, which, in our world, I guess, can be associated with graffiti. I mean, graffiti is the most amazing art, so I don't really think of it as thug art, but the font was called Thug. So look for things like that you might find that look kind of graffiti. The other thing is a lot of graffiti artists use stencils that they cut themselves. So don't be afraid to grab, if you want to write words, a stencil that has big letters in it. I mean, this, if I was using spray paint and spray painting through that's spray painting is not my thing. I don't use much of that, but if you were, and I know one of the artists that, between Laura, Nicole, and Erin, I think it's Laura that uses spray paint. This would be perfect, like just spray painting a bunch of letters across a wall and letting it drip, and that would be still getting your graffiti idea. The other thing I grabbed was a couple stencils, one to create like a stone wall, the other to help create like a brick wall. Let's see if you can see it there. So that, again, gives that idea of graffitiing on a wall. A lot of people also graffiti on bridges and trains. We have a train that goes through my town that's covered in graffiti. So, something that might be an inspiration. And then I have this stencil that's just words, okay? Lots of handwritten words that are cut out, and that could be used as a way to represent graffiti. So I hope those help you in finding things to pull from your own stash. And so we're going to get started, and I'll decide what the first thing is I want to do. Okay, so I think what I want to do is I am going to create, I love this broken wall piece. And I think what I'm going to do is use some modeling paste It's the Light and Fluffy from the Crafter's Workshop. I love this because it dries really fast. And I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to dry it, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I have my modeling paste down, and it's fairly dry. I hit it with a heat gun and left it to dry just a tiny bit. I also cleaned my stencil. I do not clean my stencil from paint, but I always clean it when I use modeling paste, just because it tends to fill in and hardens, and it will ruin your stencil faster than paint would. So, okay, so I have that down. You can see that it's somewhat transparent. The Light and Fluffy gets a little bit on the transparent side. And so I'm just going to add some of these fluorescents. First, I'll see if they spray. Sometimes I get lucky and I get like a single spray from it before it clogs again. So it's worth a shot. Nope, didn't think so. I have the worst luck with sprays. I'm just telling you that right now. So I think I'm going to use a brush. And add some of the colors on. I'm using a bullet journal, and so the pages are not super thick, just for reference. So you can see it's kind of going through to the other side a little bit. That doesn't faze me in the least. All right, so I'm going to add some of these colors on. I'll dry it and we'll get back and see what our next step will be. All right, so I'm all dry, and I do not know if it shows up on camera, but these colors are delightfully yummy. They are so bright. It's hard. That hot pink and the bright yellow were the ones that I really loved how they came out. So I am a product of the 80s. I graduated high school in 1987, so this feels like back to my childhood. But I feel like it needs to be a little bit grungy, perhaps. So I've grabbed my Stabilo All pencil, and I'm just gonna, it's pulling up the color a little bit, but I'm gonna add a little bit here and there, and let's see what happens. This is an experiment. Just because I like the idea of the bricks, but a brick wall is usually not hot pink and not dirty. Always seems to have some kind of grunge to it. I've had to faux paint brick walls before with stencils and texture and all kinds of things where there wasn't a brick wall. And the idea is always to make it look like it's always been there, which would inherently be about the grunge and the dirt and, you know, soot and stuff that's accumulated. Most of the time it was by fireplaces, so. All right, I'm gonna add this and we'll dry it and see what we do next. Okay, so when you're doing this, if it feels, okay, let's start again. When you're doing this, if it feels that you need to extend it, don't be afraid to add a line and just grunge it up, okay? Because visually it'll just extend that crack here, but even if I don't have some of the modeling paste there. The other thing that happened is I didn't put the modeling paste down perfectly, because, well, that's hard. So I ended up with lots of these little, let's pull it up closer so you can see the brick looked like it had broken apart. So I did make sure that I pushed a little bit of that Stabilo in there so that it helped make it look grungy on the inside of the bricks too, okay? And I keep wanting to make sure that it extends out. So I've added a few more here and there. I'm going to extend this one so the cracks, it looks like the crack extends. So don't be afraid to do that. Even to, you know, some of the bricks in between, it helps. It also will help tie these two together. If I do that, tie the two pages together. So it does, you know, I literally put one on here and one on there, but I would like them to be together. So this one helps do that. And maybe even I'll extend one here. So I want to tie the two pages together with the cracks. Cool. All right. Grungy fluorescent. Can't get more 80s than that, peeps. Okay. So it needs to dry a little bit. And so the next thing, honestly, I just love this just the way it is. But I want to see if I could put, I'd like to put like some graffiti words on it. And I love just adding this word art on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out around the edges, and then I'm going to see if I want to cut this out so that it almost looks like I spray painted it onto the wall. Again, you could hand draw this if you're comfortable with your lettering. Just grab a paint pen and do it. But one, I love this. I don't want to mess it up. And two, not everybody's comfortable. So this is another way of putting words on without, oh, so I don't have to do both. I might. Okay, so putting words on without having to do hand lettering. Okay, so I'm going to cut these two out and I'll meet you back here. Okay. Okay, so I've cut out the letters and I actually like the white. I think it pops the words against this. And so anywhere that there is extra space, so these two actually had white space between them. I can show you what I mean. Like it would have been like this. Okay, so instead of cutting them apart, I just used this Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, a big brush pen, and filled it in. And then anywhere I might have missed, I'm going to do that. And the same thing with this one. There's a little piece of white connecting it there. So, and then after I glue them down, I'll probably grunge them up as well. So before I glue them down, I also wanted to make sure the brick stayed intact. I could have done this, but then all my beautiful brickwork, I want to see it. So I've decided to put the art at the bottom and the create here. And I also want to add some of my inspiration, which is the picture of the body paint. So I love the one of the back of her that shows my name, and you can see the koi and the design. It's really pretty. So I thought what I would do is, I still have to use the word staple. And I thought maybe I could do this almost like it's a poster stapled to the wall, like you would walk around in New York and find. So I'm going to use some of my paper, my my fluorescent paper. And I have 3 different sheets that I had brought. And I really love, I love this because it's brighter than what's there. Not brighter, denser, stronger, any of those. But it also picks up on the koi fish that is painted on her arm. Okay, so it works. So I'm going to glue them together, or staple them together, not sure yet, but I'm going to staple it on. So I'm going to rip it because, again, I like the idea of the really grungy, rippy feel of all this. And I think I'll do the same thing to this. So it would help if I glue this on first, then I can rip around this. So I'm going to glue this on with a glue stick. Let's push this to the side. The reason I'm doing this first is I most likely want to put it like in this area and have the word art sit on top of it. So before I glue everything down, I'm going to test that theory out and see if I like that. All right. So now I've got this little ripped piece. Bring my page back. So I might end up losing some of this, but that's okay. It's one of the things I teach. Be not afraid to cover it up, people. That's kind of fun. It ties her in. It ties in my message, which is create art. Pick your surface, doesn't matter. Art journal, your friends. And then I'm going to glue this down and we'll see. Actually, I'm not going to glue. I'm going to staple. Where's my stapler? Because I do like the idea of this looking like it's attached. I might glue it down. Maybe. Might add a little bit of double-sided tape to it, and then I'm going to use staples more as an accent, okay? As opposed to how it's actually binded down. So before I do that, I want to make sure I like where it is. That enough of the picture is showing for people to be able to see it. Okay. Oh, of course the stapler is too small. So let me grab the long arm stapler. Didn't think about that because I was thinking maybe I would be stapling. So I have a big long arm stapler, it can staple anything. I was thinking more like I would be stapling things together outside of the page. And I'm not. I'm stapling it to the page. And I'm gonna staple it as if someone was being crazy pants and was like, this is not getting torn down off this wall. Cool. Okay. All right, and now I can glue the words down. Glue the words down. Okay, I've glued this down, and in gluing it down, I've picked up and made these dirty by accident, but it actually is where I would have gone with it anyway. And come back in with my Stabilo-All. One to make a shadow around my poster. Because if it's been on this wall for a while, it is also grungy. So I don't want it to look like it just went up. It's been there a while. And so then I can use a little bit of the Stabilo-All. It gets very dirty really fast, so just be careful. And make the letters not look so nice. Now I'm working, obviously, this, you know, if it was really spray painted on, it'd look a little different, but this is just paper I'm working with, but let's grunge it up a little bit. And you can get as grungy as you like with it. It is, you know, some people are just don't like grungy at all. This is torturing them, what I'm doing. But I like it. All right, so the last thing I want to do is I want to do some drips. So let me find something to do that with, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I grabbed my Carbon Black Golden High Flow acrylic. This is it's very thin or thinnish, but it is very concentrated. The pigment is true black, so it's not like you've watered down black. And that way it gets less pigmented. So let's see if I can create whoops, so you cannot see what I'm doing. That would be helpful, would it not? So I want it to look as if the spray paint got a little out of hand. When I was doing it. Oops. Whoops. It would help if I actually sprayed. All right. So just kind of get it a little even more grunge up. So this got a little messy, but let me dry it and I'll be right back and we'll see if we need to touch anything up. Okay, so everything's dry-ish. They're still a little wet. I covered up some of the staples here, so I'm gonna pull my stapler back out. And I'm gonna add, just because I love this idea of it being crazy stapled. Almost as if, like when you staple something to the telephone poles and it needs like 3,000 staples to staple your lost pet. Oh, I just love this. Who knew I would like staples so much? Fun, 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 fun. I'm definitely gonna have to obviously glue something to this page when I get there, but I am loving it. All right, so the last thing I wanted to do was maybe do a couple splatters. So I have got my round paintbrush and I've got two of the colors that I really loved in the fluorescent, and we're gonna see if I can add some splatters. Ooh. Or big blobs. What I'm trying to do is just get some splatters on the white words. That's basically why I'm doing the splatters, just to add something to them. Okay, so I also, just so that you know, things dried pretty good, but it was looking almost like they were too fresh. So I took a paper towel and I dabbed a lot of the little circles that I had sprayed, the flicks that I had made, because then they also started to look old as well. Okay, so there you have it. Create graffiti. Do it legally, but have fun. So create art. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some ideas. Even if you just take one idea from this, that's all we really want you to do, just to be inspired and take something from it and add it to your own art practice. And again, I want to thank the ladies with the Mixed Media Menagerie, Laura, Nicole, and Erin, for inviting me to be part of this August get together. Thank you so much, everyone. See you soon.